Rev up your engines!
Well, the people pushing electric cars are now claiming that EV batteries alone could satisfy the short-term power grid, saying that, well, the EVs, if millions of people have them, then they can be using their cars to send electricity into the grid, yada, yada, yada. It sounds like the dumbest idea I've ever heard. One, how the heck are you going to coordinate this stuff, right? What, it's going to be voluntary? Well, plug your car into the grid. Don't drive your car. You're going to go somewhere. People with electric cars are worried enough about range, right? So what are they going to do? Plug their car into the grid at certain times when they're told to, so that will be put back into the grid to run stuff. Talk about a stupid idea. Now, of course, this is a short-term thing. Couldn't do it long-term. All it is a little bit of storage, right? And, of course, this is all estimated on that they hope they sell millions of these stupid cars, that people are going to be plugging them into the grid and not driving them around. It's like when they say voluntary water restrictions, right? And so the people that want green lawns, they continue to water their lawns because it's voluntary, right? That's just another excuse to try to squeeze people to buying electric cars. So here we are again, the electric people trying to say, oh yeah, it's going to all work. Yeah, we'll just all plug our cars into the grid and there'll be mobile storage units, right? Come on now. People are driving their cars around. They want to get places. You think they're going to hook their car up to the grid for making power and then find out now they can't drive their car and they got to take the power back out of the grid? They're just grasping at straws with this electric car crap. Well, Carvana's at it again. They're laying off even more workers as they go down the tubes. Their massive stock buildup, which was just a scam like most pyramid schemes are, eventually the pyramid gets so big, there's not enough people putting money in, and of course Carvana got all these billions of dollars of borrowed money from really suspect things, and now they're starting to fade away. Just the other day, driving in Nashville, Tennessee, I saw one. Guess what? The gumball machine was empty. It was nothing, and the lot was empty too. You could see the place was positively had been abandoned. And this will happen nationwide for sure. I mean, they ripped a bunch of people off, not giving them the titles, charging way too much money because they could during the coronavirus. Now all that's letting loose. They're not stuck. Oh, well, deliver it to my house. Okay, great. Deliver. What a stupid idea. Buy a used car and have them delivered to your house. Don't check it out. If there's a problem later, oh, well, we'll do something about it. Yeah. I've never seen anybody get their money back from Carvana. I've seen them take it back and then they give them credit for buying another car there, but I've never seen them give anybody their money back. Well, now they might be giving the property back to whoever they got it from, because a whole bunch of them are going to be shut down. The Carvana saga goes on, and all the hype is blown away to see an empty framework of stupidity, a giant company selling used cars. Used car sales are one of the dirtiest businesses in the world, and if you turn it into a massive corporation, we all know corporations are corrupt. We all know they're inefficient. And it just created this giant image of greatness that stupid people invested in. And now it's down and down. It's presently down to about $7 a share. They were newcomers, came in, blasting with their gumball machines and hype, and now they're going right back down to where they came, which was nothing, just an idea, and one that obviously is failing. Borrow billions of dollars from other people for a business that isn't even working? I mean, it really makes you wonder about some of these decisions that people make. I guess they're all stupid and they just jump on the bandwagon, the horns are blowing, they're all excited, and then when grim reality comes out, down it goes. Just like when they're starting wars, everybody's in the parade, I'm going to join, we're going to save the world. Then they find out basically everybody's killing everybody else. And eventually when the wars are over, nobody's really the winner except for the capitalists who make a fortune making weapons and stuff. So let's face the facts. Stay away from bandwagons. It's a bad thing to do. Henry says, I got an oil dipstick issue. My father has a 2016 Corolla, 49,000 miles. The manual says it takes 4.4 quarts of engine oil to bring it to the full. When I add this on an oil change, the dipstick shows almost twice as much oil as it should. What's going on? Make sure you're changing the oil and the filter, because if you're not changing the filter, that's going to have more because the oil's still in the filter, right? Make sure you change the oil and filter. Now, if that's the case, I would assume you're putting in the right amount, right? I would assume that the oil dipstick is the wrong one. Somehow when they made it, they put the wrong oil dipstick and it goes in too far and it reads too high. Then. In that case, I go to a Toyota dealer and say, I want a dipstick for this thing, buy it, put it in and see what it measures. If it measures the correct, you know that's what it is. On the other hand, don't always believe what manuals say. Often they are incorrect. As per example, Toyota Matrix that I got, my wife's car, right? It says in the book that it takes 4.4 quarts, right? I got to put 5 quarts for it to be on the full. You want it on the full. Make sure it's not the dipstick. Get another one, put it in, get it to the dealer, and if it reads right, then it was just the wrong dipstick was put in it. If it's still exactly the same, go buy the dipstick. Don't go buy any book. Because like I say, mine says it's supposed to be 4.4, and it's half a quart low if I put 4.4, so I put 4.9 in it. Ryan says, my car vibrates in neutral, but it's fine when in D. I got a Toyota 2015. It has 60,000 miles. It vibrates a little in neutral reverse, but it's fine when it's in drive. Any problem? I cleaned the throttle, spark plugs, MAF sensor. That is really a weird one. Because normally they'll vibrate when they're in drive, but not in neutral. And yours is vibrating in neutral, but not in drive. That's got to be a problem in the torque converter. So what I would do if I were you, I'd change the transmission fluid on it. See what happens. Could be that torque converter's got dirty fluid and it's just making it that kind of weird. That's the only thing that would make sense, because normally when you put them in neutral, they don't shake, but when you put them in drive, they shake, and yours is the opposite. It's got to be something internal. It can't be anything external, because if it's external, when you put it in drive, it's going to shake even more. My old Celica does that, and the torque converter's worn out, but I don't care. I put it in neutral when I'm driving around, and it doesn't shake at all. And I'm not going to take the transmission out and buy a torque converter. It shifts fine, it works fine otherwise. So try changing the fluid, see what happens, and pray it's not something internal to the transmission. Takachanbo says, is it okay to leave ATS Fuel Cleaner inside the fuel tank? Can I pull the whole bottle, drive a bit, and not let the cleaner sit for a couple of days? Well, of course you can. It's a carbon cleaner, and it works quite well. I found a really phenomenal thing for that. I got an old Triumph motorcycle, right, sitting here in Tennessee. Well, I'm gone part of the year. I come back, and the throttle will always be stuck, and it would only run on one cylinder until I ran it a while. Then the carbon would come out of the injection system, and it would run normal. So I thought, let's do an experiment. So, his little bottle of ATS Fuel Cleaner does say can treat 5 gallons or more. Well, luckily, my Triumph has a 5-gallon gas tank. So I put some in and filled it up with gas and let it sit for months, just sitting there. Then I came back, started right up, it drove fine, I drove it around. It didn't even start to miss. It kept it clean. The stuff's amazing. So yes, you can leave it in your gas tank and drive it a couple of days, whatever. I put mine in for months, and now, I'll tell you, when I'm going to leave a vehicle sitting for a long period of time, I'm going to put some of it in, I'm going to drive the car for 15, 20 minutes to get it all in the system, and then leave it there. And it's actually, since it dissolves carbon, once you run it and let it sit, while it's sitting, it helps dissolve it too. I found that out. Sometimes it's even better to let it sit a little while and then run the thing. Well, you know, they pay farmers not to grow food. Well, in England now, they're paying the wind turbine people not to generate electricity, because it turns out this past few months, they've had windier days in England. They were actually getting too much electricity that overwhelmed the grid. Now, I've been to England, let me tell you, their grid is antique. I think it's bad here, it's even worse in England, right? So they got a weak power grid. It can't take all this extra power. Of course, that's the thing about turbines. They'd really have to have a good storage system to store the electricity to use it later, but obviously they don't. So, over the first 11 months in 2022, the British paid wind turbine people £122 million not to generate electricity. It just shows the farce of using the stuff in a system that isn't made to accommodate such things. You can control the generation if you have a hydropower by how much you run the turbines. If you generate it from oil or gas or coal, you can burn a certain amount, make a certain amount of electricity. They can control the nuclear reactor and the nuke power plant to make so much electricity, and if they need less, they can turn it down, right? Which shows these half-assed measures of making electricity, that's exactly what they are. The infrastructure's not even set up for it. And the fact that in England they're paying the wind turbine producers not to create electricity, that just shows how screwed up the whole system is. Of course, in England, most of the stuff's screwed up. I've been there. So, you know, not a great place to follow an example. Now they're paying people not to generate electricity to them when it gets too windy outside. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.